This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com with some UFO news. This is not wrestling news, even though I've received more heat from some of these UFO conspiracy theorists this week than I have from anything to do with wrestling this week. By the way, the screenshot for this video is a shot from a group of approximately 10 white circular UFOs that were recorded in the skies of Osaka, Japan around 2015. And this is relevant because Popular Mechanics is reporting that the Japanese military is now officially tracking UFOs where they weren't officially doing this until now. The Japan defense minister has actually unveiled guidelines for Japanese defense personnel that experience UFO sightings to basically record any UFOs they observe so the defense ministry can study whatever evidence they're able to record. The defense minister, Taro Kano, issued these instructions this week telling defense forces to make reports if anyone spots an unidentifiable object in the air that could affect the country's defense and security. The guidelines also urges all-out efforts to take photos or videos of any of these objects to carry out the necessary analysis afterwards. These new guidelines were issued due to an increase in the use of drones and other objects that fly differently than conventional airplanes. And of course, this week, there was a mix-up. There was a football game Monday night in New Jersey, and the Goodyear blimp, one of the Goodyear blimps were in the area. And if you look at the footage, it looks like a blimp. There are some people that are obsessed with turning this into some type of conspiracy, but it actually does look like a blimp. It did not display any of the 5 scientific observables of the UFOs, of real UFOs as outlined by military personnel. And for those that don't know, I'm going to go through what the 5 observables are of real UFOs, not blimps that, by the way, were in the air long enough that military personnel would have done something about it. So let's go through the observables of real UFOs for anyone that cares to know. Sudden and instantaneous acceleration is the first one that the blimp did not display. These are objects that accelerate or change directions so quickly that no human pilot could survive the G-forces as they would be crushed. Radar operators of the USS Princeton, according to the History Channel, tracked an object that accelerated from a standing position to traveling 60 miles a minute, which is actually 3,600 miles an hour. So they tracked an object that wasn't moving, that went 3,600 miles an hour from standing. The blimp did not do that, and a human being would die. So basically another country, by the way, some of these objects have been recorded dating back to the 40s. So I guess other countries may have, if it is another country, they're just decades and literally hundreds and hundreds of years ahead of our technology if they possess technology that can do this and not kill a human if a human being is in this, or it's from something out of this world. The second observable of legitimate UFOs are hypersonic velocities, without signatures. So what that is if an aircraft travels faster than the speed of sound, such as, let's say, a rocket or a missile, something that we can have, it'll usually make a sonic boom, or there'll be vapors or trails. Where most UFO accounts, legitimate UFOs, do not leave any such evidence, and they have been tracked by military radar of doing speeds well above 300 miles an hour. And they've actually shown the ability to stop literally on a dime after going 300 miles an hour or more and then changing directions. We don't have anything that can do that. And these objects, some of them, like the famous Tic Tac objects, don't look like anything we have. They don't have wings. They don't appear to have any obvious means of propulsion, no propellers. So we don't understand how these things can move like that. 3, low observability or cloaking. Even when some of these UFO objects are observed, getting a clear and detailed view of them is sometimes difficult, either through pilot sightings, radar, or other means. Oftentimes there's a glow or haze around them. Even when hovering, they can be difficult to see. Yet some of them are able to be tracked with gun cameras and other military radar. So obviously people saw the blimp. It was maybe not marked as clear as people would like, but it didn't have the low observability that many of these UFOs have. Number 4 of the observables of legitimate UFOs are transmedium travel. And what transmedium travel is, some of these UFOs or unidentified aerial phenomenon can move through water just as easily as they can move through air, as well as go outside of our atmosphere. We don't have any vehicles that can go in air just as easily as water. And some of these vehicles have been tracked moving faster than 70 knots underwater by military tracking systems, which is roughly 2 times as fast as nuclear submarines. So we have submarines that can go in water. We have some planes that can fly on water, but we don't have things that can just pop underneath water and move extremely fast and then just shoot up into the atmosphere. So some of these UFOs are performing just as well in other environments as they would in the air, which is very interesting. And there's evidence of these things going back decades. So I guess some of these underwater craft are nicknamed, according to Luis Elizondo, who is a former director of special operations for the government. Some of these underwater craft are known by the military as fast movers, quote, fast movers. And they've been tracked moving underwater much faster than anything should. And we don't have anything that can move that fast underwater. And finally, the 5th observable is anti-gravity lift, otherwise known as positive lift, where these objects have been shown overcoming the Earth's gravity with no visible means of propulsion. And they seem to lack any flight surfaces, don't seem to have engines or anything like that. And they can just show anti-gravity lift, which is something the blimp didn't display. So just some other notes that I'll bring up here before I get into your comments is the government obviously has spent millions of dollars, actually millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Governments all over the world trying to detect life in the solar system. They've recently found some signs of life on Venus. So we definitely should be spending more money looking at unusual stuff in our own environment, and maybe not worry so much about sending signals out into outer space so more advanced species could potentially find us, because alien life could be a threat to us. Usually, the invading force is never good for the people with lesser technology. Maybe we won't be at the top of the food chain anymore if something like this happens. I mean, there has been some signs that some of these craft could be hostile, and there has been signs that some of them could be benign. There could be multiple things with multiple intentions. There have been some missiles officers that have come forward, and there is unclassified information this as well, that some of these vehicles have affected our nuclear defense systems, and they've been hovering over nuclear silos, putting them offline. And also, there has been some evidence that they have played around with Russia's nuclear capabilities. So you can say they might not be a threat, but when they can screw around with our nuclear capabilities, not just ours, but other countries, you got to be a little concerned over that. There's a lot of official U.S. government information that has been unclassified over the years. A lot of reports that have been declassified. If you look it up, you can see stuff going back into the 40s. So maybe we're just being observed by some of these groups. Maybe there is stuff underwater or in places where we haven't really discovered too much, where they could have bases. Maybe we're a science experiment. Maybe they are a threat. Maybe one will want to take us over one day, or maybe some will want to help us. We don't know. But the main thing is we need to know more, so we shouldn't just ignore this. The flight characteristics of these UFOs are definitely abnormal, and they don't appear to be from any foreign inventory that we know of, according to military reports. They're flying in ways that absolutely defy our understanding of aerodynamics. They fly at right angles. They fly at angles perpendicular to the horizon. They go underwater, as I said. They're changing our concepts of physics and flight. And like, they're flying at things that have 400 or 500, 600 Gs of gravity on them, where the human body can only withstand like a very small amount of G force. So these things are moving faster than anything we've ever seen before. So we definitely need to know more about them. Mike Yon 100 says he's from New Jersey and it was a blimp. We effed up. I mean, it's obvious that, yeah, at first it could have been something else. It wasn't that clearly marked. But now that it's come out and Goodyear has said, yes, we know there's a football game on. We know no military intercepted it. I don't understand why some people want to insist that it's a conspiracy. Just because I said it's a blimp doesn't mean I don't think that some of these UFOs that military radar have tracked and investigated and still don't know what they are aren't unidentified flying objects, and there isn't unusual stuff going on. It just means that in that case, it was something that was misidentified. Peanut Butter says no laws of physics. These things apparently defy our laws of physics. That's why Japan is investigating them. That's why Russia is investigating them. There was recently a Russian cosmonaut that captured some UFOs from the International Space Station, and those photos are currently being investigated. And I'm actually going to be interviewing a beautiful lady from Russia Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, who not only knows a lot about wrestling, but also knows a lot about UFOs. She even has an alien tattoo. But she's a very intelligent lady, and we're going to get into to UFOs in that podcast as well. Zanya is her name. Zach says he's seen what he believes is 2 UFOs in Kentucky when he was 14. He thinks they're from the government. And but the thing is, if they're from the government, why are we still flying around in airplanes? If since the 1940s, these things have been tracked, performing aerial phenomena that can defy our laws of physics. So we have all this wonderful technology, and we're still flying around in airplanes and helicopters and submarines underwater. And by the way, the military has testing sites that are classified, places like Area 51, where they can test stuff. They don't, if it's classified vehicles, they don't go flying them around New Jersey and Kentucky if they want to keep them classified. And if they're from other countries in our airspace, that's a very serious breach of our national security. Buster believes that the government has at least 40 to 50 years ahead of our technology that the public doesn't know about. That is true, but these things are displaying far more than that. Far more than that. 300 miles an hour, stop, jolt up, can go up into space, or stop, jolt down, go down into the ocean, disappear. I don't know. Ken says he's seen what looked like a flying taco in the sky, floating lights in the woods several times. Get out your cameras. Ozzy, is there any documentaries I would recommend on UFOs? There's one on UFO and nukes that is out there that has some very interesting information. But do your own research. Find out what you want to accept as the truth. I've actually heard that the government's never actually going to come out and really say anything 100%. They will bring out more and more evidence, and more evidence is going to become available, and people will make their own conclusions. Kona says, hello, brother. He's seen a lot here. Peanut Butter says we don't explore water enough. Jefferson says alien races may not have stigma against cloning. One could be abducted and replaced by a clone. Who knows? I don't know much for sure other than what the military is saying. And like when the military releases videos, when the Pentagon officially releases videos, you know they're pretty legit. And the military has also admitted those are just clips of the full videos, and those are not the only videos that are out there. There's more. Those 3 videos that the U.S. military has released are just the 3 videos that they've released so far. It's certainly not all the evidence out there. Kyle says he's seen them in Indiana numerous times. James says scientists won't have jobs. And he's saying, I am blind. Okay. I'm telling people to do their own research and telling people to come to their own conclusions. I don't shove views down anyone's throats. And I've never even said I'm an expert in ufology. This is my hobby. I research this stuff. I'm interested in this stuff. It is a national security threat. It could literally change the world. Look how much people are freaking out over COVID, that I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole, but we've found out that it's not nearly as serious as some people would like us to think, and it's caused a lot of negative on this earth. I could only imagine what could happen if something serious happens from something out of this world. What would happen? Strawberry Grape says, I hope they release more videos. They are going to release more videos. It came out a couple months ago that the government is going to release further videos as well as information regarding off-world materials, not of Earth, that have been recovered. So we're going to find out more. I'm just reporting this because I find it interesting. And also, the people that are on at me, I seriously have a lot of haters in the wrestling world, but it's so funny the amount of hate I've got this week from the New Jersey UFO people that are insisting the blimp is a UFO. I just read you the 5 of observables. You can look them up online, then watch the blimp video, compare them, and you guys tell me if this blimp demonstrates any of the 5 observables that the military uses to classify what is and what is not a UFO. Have a great weekend, everybody.